Hey guys, um, if you guys are longtime subscribers, good on you. Welcome back. If you're new here, hello. Um, so the early modern period. Take a sip of water. The early modern period. I feel like I have gaps in my knowledge, of course, thousands and millions of gaps, but I am on this perhaps naive quest to try to at least compartmentalize a lot of the moments in history. So, for example, Bronze Age, I'm just reiterating so I can remember this. Bronze Age is like the third millennium, all the way to 1200. And then, I'm not really sure what to call the next period, but afterwards, starting in around 700, all the way to 500, we have kind of antiquity or classical antiquity if you're thinking about Greek and Roman history. And then after 500, all the way to 1500, we have the Middle Ages, okay? Which, of course, each one of these periods has so much history, but I'm just trying to compartmentalize it. And after the Middle Ages, we have essentially after 1500, or after the 16th century, the beginning of the 16th century, till today, it's considered the modern era. But I'm still scratching my head because how did we go from the end of Middle Ages to modernity? So there's this new sort of period. Their new, not period. Yeah, period. Actually, exactly period. It's called the early modern period. It's the period of time that helps me at least understand how we went from Middle Ages to now by breaking it down into like another sub category. So the early modern period is a historical period that is defined as either part of or immediately preceding the modern period. So it's like right before or either a part of, just the earliest part. And we're dealing with the history of Europe and the broader concept of modernity. There's no exact date, obviously. This is just like historians trying to grok this complexity of history. So there's no one moment that starts it, but in general, it's considered to have lasted from the start, 16th century, which is 1500, and it ends at the 19th. So 15 to 1800. So things that are happening in this period, just from my brain, I can just say, oh, that's early modern. That's early modern period. So it follows the Middle Ages, and it's preceding the advent of modernity. But of course, the dates are far from universally agreed, which is exactly it's like this. So they said it twice. Here and here. In the context of global history, the early modern period is often used in contexts where there's no equivalent medieval period. I don't know if I understand that sentence. Various events in historical transition have been proposed for the start of the modern period, including the fall of Constantinople in 1453 as the start of the Renaissance. Cool. The end of the Crusades, the Reformation giving rise to Protestantism, and the beginning of the Age of Discovery. And with the onset of the first wave of European colonization. The end, interesting enough, is often marked by the French Revolution, sometimes by the American Revolution, which I wonder, are those dates kind of similar? It's the American Revolution is end of the 18th century. French Revolution also. Cool. So like in terms of my brain, I can put these as like kind of in the neighborhood. It's kind of like what is it like? Anyways, I tried to think of like a modern example. Nothing came to mind. or Napoleon's rise to power, which I guess is also in that neighborhood of the kind of end of the 18th century. So historians in recent decades have argued that from a world standpoint, the most important feature of the early modern period was the spreading of globalization The most important feature of the early modern period was its spreading, globalizing character. New economies and institutions emerged, becoming more sophisticated and globally articulated over the course of the period. The early modern period also included the rise and dominance of mercantilism, which I think is the reliance of gold and the belief that gold is finite and thus we must hoard it and find it wherever it is, and do whatever we can to have as much gold as in our coffers as we can. I wonder if I'm right. I don't know. I'll have to go into that, but it's really cool in my opinion. It just reminds me of like fantasy. It's like a period of history that really just is on the brink of fantasy. Other notable trends of the period include the development of experimental science, which is huge. Beginning of science. In the rapid technological process, secularized civil politics, accelerating travel due to improvement in mapping and ship design, and the emergence of nation states. Okay, I'm not going to go in more because this isn't a good article. It's neither featured nor good nor anything. But I feel like it must be kind of right about this thing. So like in my brain, 1500 to 1800, I can say early modern period, and I can sort of start to put stuff in that, all kinds of stuff. So at the end, on the tail end, we have the three things: American Revolution, Napoleon's rise, and French Revolution. They kind of all happen at the end of the 1700s, the end of the 1700s. And at the beginning, we have the fall of Constantinople, the end of the Crusades, and the Reformation in Germany, and the rise of Protestantism. Protestantism, sorry. That's it for this one. Of course, if I'm going to say this, I'm going to keep saying it until I want at least 2,000 subs. Because 2,000 subs would mean that I have 1,000 real people, because statistically there's 50% bots. So that means 50% of the comments that I ever get are just bots. Especially the ones that are just like a capital letter. Those are always weird. Like I just get them sometimes. Just a capital letter with absolutely no meaning. And I think to myself, this must be a bot. So yeah, folks, if I don't get back to you on the comments, it's because I read something earlier that day that was very toxic, and now I just don't want to hear about the comments. But feel free to comment me stuff and ideas. If you enjoyed it, subscribe. I hope you guys have a wonderful day.